Hello, Thomas here with Trackify, and welcome to this awesome Tuesday Facebook Live. How are you guys? Just right off the bat, hey Cody, awesomeness. Yes, I am really excited for this as well. You just enabled it, that's awesome. Great. So we're here to talk about on-site, time-on-site events. Let me just create, fix my little spell check here. Okay, there you go. So who's on and who's live and who can hear me? If you are in one of the groups, I shared this this hosted live stream to several groups, Facebook groups. If you're in one of the groups, come on over to the main page that hosts the actual live stream. So you can leave your comments there and I can actually get them. Here's John. Hello. Hey, John, how are you? Who else is there? Say hi and let me know where you are and what's going on. And I guess we take a couple of minutes to kind of see some more people come on. And again, if you're in one of the groups that I've shared the live stream to, come on over to the main page, to my personal page, so that you can leave comments and they actually show up here for me. All right. So with that said, let me go back to this one and let's just go ahead and get started. So time-on-site events is what we've just unleashed it, just unrolled it for you guys. It's been a project of mine that has been long in the making. I want to say at least for 18 months I've been after that, and then we kind of got tangled up in rewriting the whole app and creating TrackifyX. And that took much longer than I had expected and than I had hoped it would take. But now finally we went back to this and are firing time-on-site events. There are other apps outside of Shopify, other programs that do similar things. And some of our users have used them in addition to Trackify. And you can also do something similar with, setting up Google Tag Manager or stuff like that. But I wanted to create a system where it's really integrated and where the events make as much sense as possible and where they are working in the way that I would want to use them. So I don't know how it is with you. Sometimes I have ideas and I have a vision for it. And then if I see something similar implemented somewhere else, I feel that, okay, we could actually do this better, or this could be used in a better way. And so I'm really glad and happy and proud to announce here today that right out of the box, I think a lot of the things and the functionality that I had envisioned for this is actually happening already right now. So in today's call, what I want to do is I want to show you how the events work, how you can enable them, and then we'll go over a little bit more in depth and in detail of how to build audiences from them, because that's actually not quite as intuitive as you would think. It's you have to combine some filter criteria. And I'll show you some different ideas and some different ways how to set this up. And then we'll go into an ad account and look how to actually combine these time-on-site audiences specifically with, for example, a DPA ad, then dynamic product ad, and enhance those flows and make the audiences that you can capture with your dynamic product ads that are based on catalog feeds, how you can make them be even more targeted by, targeting only the more engaged audiences. All right, so anytime during the broadcast here, feel free to ask questions. I'll see it on this screen over here, and I'll answer as many as I can, and we'll just see, and we'll take it from there. So let's go here. Hide this one. You can actually see the whole screen. So this here is, I'm in a marketer plan in one of our demo stores. And right here on the settings page, on the TrackifyX settings page, you can see here the bottom entry is brand new. It shows fire time on-site events. Now, if you have currently the business plan, this will be disabled. It's currently not available in the business plan. It is available in the marketers and in the enterprise plan. You can manage your subscription through here if you have the app installed through the Shopify App Store, and if you are billed for the app on your monthly Shopify invoice. If you have to upgrade your plan because, but you are on Trackify for free in the store because you're billed through us for the Trackify app membership, you can't upgrade through this here. Then in this case, just ask us to upgrade you through the chat option here. Okay, so I hope that's not too confusing. Most people don't have a Trackify app membership, but if you do, you probably know, and then you can just let us know if you need to upgrade to the marketer plan to get access to the TimeOnSite events. Okay, so enough of that. We're on a product page over here, and let me shift this a little bit here and arrange that a little bit better so we can actually the best way to do that is this. So you can actually see what's going on and kind of pull this side by side. That's kind of a neat little trick. Many people don't know about that. When you have the Facebook Pixel Helper here, it kind of always is like this, right? Where you can kind of look at it, and then when you browse, it closes again. But you can actually pop this out here and detach it from this icon and set it up as a separate window, pull it open here and set it up next to the window that you're browsing. And that way you can actually see what's going on here and follow along with the events as they are generated and as they are showing up in Facebook Pixel Helper. Okay, so here we have the TimeOnSite events are not enabled yet. They're disabled here. They come out of the box disabled. We didn't want to just kind of jump them on you and surprise you by all of a sudden creating this abundance of extra events that confuse you. So that's why it starts out as being disabled. But you can go into your settings and then just enable it, save the settings, and come back over here. And when we now refresh this page, you will see in the normal events, the view content event that is on the product page. And then immediately after the time intervals that are set, the TrackifyX retarget events are showing up. So now you can see they are going to keep coming on, and you can see as they came, the first one started on after 5 seconds, and then we went to 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and then I think it jumps to 30, and then I believe it continues to go on in increments of 30 seconds. All right. So that's how that works, and they'll keep coming. They'll keep firing along. So now let's look at the event parameters that you see here. So there are 3 event parameters inside this custom event. These 3 parameters are content time on page, content time on site, and content page. So what do they mean? So time on page means that's the time that someone spent on this particular page where the event loaded. Time on site, now in this particular case, they're all the same, right? Because I've been on the page the same amount of time as I've been on the site. So on the site means the time that they've spent on this session, in this visit, in your entire store. So if I continue here, and let's say I'm going to add this to the cart, well, this is now not a cart page, so it's probably a bad example. Actually, for the purpose of this demonstration, I should just come on over to my theme settings and see if I can switch this so we have an actual cart page. So this works too without a cart page, right? You can now see there's an add to cart event here, but what doesn't give you a big difference is the way that the new events are generated here. They still show the content page parameter as product. And I kind of wanted to demonstrate how that changes. Well, we don't really have to demonstrate it from here. We can just actually go over to the checkout. So goodness. Okay, that's not a good demonstration for Facebook Live. The reason for this to happen is that apparently we went over the allotted amount of test orders that we get to process in this store. So dumb Shopify on developer stores, on test stores, only lets you process so many orders, and after that is done, they don't let you go on the checkout page anymore. So let me just fix this over here. Let me see if I can quickly address that and don't waste too much of your time here by just simply changing the theme settings for, there you go, for the cart page. I'm going to save that, and we're going to clear out this cart. Okay, it's already cleared out. All right, so now I'm going to refresh it. And so now that I refreshed it, let's see what happens here with the time-on-site versus time-on-page events. You see, here's what's going on now. So now that I refreshed the page, I'm still on the site. So the site now shows 140 seconds. And the time-on-page at the same time has now renewed and reset itself to 5 seconds. All right. So that's how that works. Now let's see if what happens if we actually jump over to the cart page. Now we're on the cart page. We see the add to cart event here. And now the value of the content page parameter has switched over to cart, right? So, and you can see here again, the time on page is starting to count again from scratch, from wherever it started loading this particular page, whereas the time on site just keeps clicking away and keeps running the timer up during this visit and during this session. So that gives you all kinds of different options for audience creation and for creating the different audiences that you can collect with these events. And so with that in mind, let's jump back to Trackify now, and we'll go into the audience manager. We're going to go straight into the custom audience builder. And let me make this big. Before I dive into this, let me actually double check if we have any questions here since then. No questions so far. Okay, so give me a little shout here, guys, to make sure that we're still on the same page. I'm still audible, that the broadcast is running fine and all that. Sorry for the insufficiency of the actual store, but you can test this out in your own store where it's actually active and working. So if there's nothing else here to ask, let me actually go full screen on this and zoom in a little bit so you can see this better. By the way, if you've not discovered the night mode yet, that setting is right over here on the top. You see, you can switch back and forth between night mode, and so that's all dark. It's kind of a little bit easier on the eyes when you work with your computers a lot, and you can switch it to the bright daylight normal standard mode with this switch. Okay, so we are in custom audience builder, and you're going to have to select an ad account and then select a pixel, and you need to make sure that that's a pixel that fires in the store, of course, so that it works. And then you start out by choosing the event type from up here. And you can see we've put this into the pop-up so that you don't have a problem with typos. So you would just select the TrackifyX retarget event. Just as an aside here and a distraction, if you have any other events that you want to check out and maybe build audiences for, even if they're not written there in the list, you can simply type them in. Let me show you an example. For example, here on the product page, whenever you change the variant, we're firing another event here that's called Customize Product. Now that's also a custom event, all right? And then here it keeps clicking away. You see this is now time on page, so that keeps counting because we didn't change the page. But that's a Customized Product event is another special event, and this event is not showing up in this list, but you can simply just type it in, but you have to make sure not to make typo because otherwise you won't have an audience. Okay, customize product. There you go, and hit tab, and there you go. It's there as well. So that's just an aside. That has nothing to do with the time-on-site audiences. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that you can type in any kind of custom event that you want to build an audience for and build it based on this event type. All right, so it's going to be an event-based audience based on the TrackifyX retarget custom events that you can pick here from the list. And now let's get into the nitty-gritty where we set up the actual audience rules. So on this one, you pick out the event parameter. And let me do a little aside on that one as well. So we have a bunch of event parameters here. Now, they are not restricted as they are in Facebook, right? In Facebook, for example, when you're building custom conversions, you don't see any parameters here that haven't actually already been fired into the event that is selected. Now, because of that, you sometimes have confusion in Facebook because you get delayed in the way that you can build the audiences. Because if the event hasn't been fired yet, then you have to wait first, and then you can build it later. So that's kind of a disadvantage sometimes in Facebook. Now here, the disadvantage is that you can mess up, right? Because you can pick from all kinds of events parameters, even though the particular parameter might not make any sense for the event type that you have selected, okay? So I just want to call that out to you to make sure that you have to be a little bit more aware of what you're doing here and pick the right thing and don't make mistakes. So again, we looked at the events over here, and the parameters that make sense for the TrackifyX retarget custom event are these three: content, time on page, content, time on site, and content page. And so these are here. We put them into the list so that they're easy to pick out and you don't have to type them in. As with this field here, you can also type in a parameter name, but these here are for your convenience so that you can just pick them. Okay, so that's good for time on page. We're going to be interested in the time on page events, and we want to modify this one to either be one of the numerical criteria, right? They have to be equal, not equal, less than or equal, greater than equal. They shouldn't say, you shouldn't use contains or not contains, because this is a numeric value. So that's going to mess up, but these other ones here are good for that. So let's just simply start by putting a filter together for an audience that is greater than, let's say, 15 seconds. Okay. So time on page, the time that they spend on the specific page, on any specific page, I should say, in your store, has to be greater than 15 seconds for this filter to catch the people into the audience. Now, one thing that we were thinking about when we put this together is there's, of course, the effect of people just kind of keeping a tab open or keeping a browser open, or they get a phone call if they're on their cell phone while they're browsing your site. And now they spend 5 minutes on your site, and then after, well, maybe 10 minutes on your site, but they haven't really looked at anything. So we were thinking, what do we do about that? And I think the best way to actually deal with that is to eliminate these audiences by creating another rule, and you use the same value for this, or the same parameter, I should say. So time on page, and then you would say if they're less than or equal to, something big, something, whatever, 10 minutes, right? So if they're staying for more than 10 minutes, they've gone away in the meantime, and they're not really that engaged, all right? They're not that engaged that they actually would stay for 10 minutes. So you can make it 5 minutes, whatever you experiment with that a little bit, and just eliminate the people that stay there for very long. It might not be a super important criteria, if you don't have a whole lot of people that are that apply to this, then you might not even want to bother. So, but that's just an idea. So if you're thinking about, what about the people who just linger and stay and they're not really valuable? Well, that would be the way to filter them out. Now, if you do apply multiple rules that should both apply or all apply, then you have to make sure to switch this over to all, right? Because otherwise you're going to get people who are greater than 15 seconds. They're spending more than 15 seconds. And also people who spend less than 300 seconds. So that means you're going to get everyone, right? Because the people who spend less than 15 seconds are going to be included in this one, and excluded in this one, but they're going to be included in this one. So make sure you set the logic of these rules together up properly. Now here, another interesting rule that you can add to this that really makes sense, and this is why I wanted to show you this, the use of the third parameter, It fires in these events, and that is the content page. So this really is going to fire a content page type, right? So let's experiment this a little bit here, and let me see this. You've already seen obviously that this store is not properly set up. It's not a live store, but I just wanted to see what actually comes up here as a content page. So it's a content page type, and in a collection, it's going to be a collection, right? And then in a product page, it's going to be a product. The value is going to be product. You know, wait for the first one. Okay, here we go. So we saw that already. Content page on the product page is product. And we've already seen the content page on the cart. And it's cart. I guess we're going to take that slash out of that event eventually. So, but it doesn't matter for the way that we're setting this up. And so that means if you wanted to focus in on people who spent at least 15 seconds, but no more than 5 minutes on a specific page, and you wanted to focus in on that being a product page, any product page, you could set it up like this: content page contains, and you would just type in here product, right? The value that we've seen on in the event in Facebook Pixel Helper, all right? So there you go. So that would work. If you type in cart, it doesn't matter if that slash is there or not, right? The contains rule just would work for both of them, all right? So that would be a good rule. Now, let me actually, I'm going to move this out because this is going to pop up my entire account list of all my clients who don't want me to show you that they're working with me. Okay, there you go. So this is one of our test accounts. It's completely unrelated. It has a different business manager and all that. So let's call this audience TimeOnSite demo, and I'm gonna, well, yeah, that's fine. Let's just call it that. Demo live. I'm gonna call it live. Okay, there you go. So that's an audience. Now, one more thing. You know, and you're already familiar with the functionality that our custom audience builder is a bulk custom audience builder, right? You can build many custom audiences all in one go all together. Now, with this particular event type, I would not recommend, it wouldn't make any sense to select other event types here in addition to the TrackifyX retarget custom event, right? That wouldn't make any sense because these parameters here only apply to this event type. So they wouldn't give you any audiences that make sense, right? So for that reason, we're just going to get rid of these, and we're just going to leave our audience builder in this only event type that we've selected here. However, you can still create a bunch of custom audiences at the same time because you can select different look back periods, right? So you can do this for the people who've been on your site and match this criteria in the past 3 days. You know, with the amount of events that you're getting, there's probably also already going to be, you know, quite a count. But that depends on how much traffic you have. So if you choose multiple look back periods, it will now create the audiences that match this criteria and look at each of these look back periods, and it will create a separate audience for each of them. So this will now create 4 custom audiences with these 4 selected look back periods. Let's actually go ahead and do this. And you get the success message here, hopefully. And now we can go over and take a quick look at that. Let's just go over to the audience list. That's where we can see that these audiences that we've just created. It should pull up the same account over here. Hopefully it'll do this properly. Okay, there you go. So let's just select live here in the search criteria, and you can see there are the 4 audiences that we just built. You can see here they're named according to the event that they pertain to, and then also according to the look back period. So you can see here this is a TrackifyX retarget audience, and it's based on 3 days, 14 days, 30 days, and 120 days worth of data. Of course, the size is low because we have, you know, this pixel isn't used, the events haven't been generated yet, so nothing is really live on this particular example. However, I wanted to show you what this filter that we've just set up what this actually looks like in Facebook. And so you can click on the audience name in Trackify, any specific audience, and it will come over here and open up your audience manager in that particular ad account where these audiences are. And you can now see here, these are the audiences that we've created. Looks like I've already created some other ones, but here the top 4 are the ones that we've just created, right? And so now you can see the rules are here popping up like that. And if you go in here and go into a specific one, you can actually come in here and see the rules and also even edit the rules if you want to make any changes, right? So this is one way to actually confirm that the app that you're using to create this audience is fully compliant and fully conforms with the way that Facebook would create the audiences. But you can see here, I mean, even the way that this layout looks in Facebook with regards to, how you can build the audience, or I can see the filter rules that we've created, that looks already pretty much more complicated than it does in Trackify. And at the same time, it reflects exactly what's going on. So we see here, include people who meet all of the following criteria. They have to be, on this event, TrackifyX retarget. The time on page has to be greater than 15 and also less than 300. So that captures audiences who spend between 15 seconds and 5 minutes on any page. And then this here narrows it further down to only the product pages. So they have to have spent between 15 seconds and 5 minutes on any product page in this particular case, right? So, and that's a really meaningful way to kind of look at this. Now, let's go into kind of examining these audiences and taking a look at what happens when you build these audiences for a bit. I'm just going to go into, let's see where I'm going to go. I'm going to go into the dashboard, and I'm going to go here. So here's another way you can see things here. So TrackifyX retarget event, here's already 2,700 events fired on this particular pixel. So I guess it must be in a store somewhere as a test pixel underway where it actually gathers some actual live data. That's great. So that means we can actually go into this account and I can show you some more details. All right, so so you can see it there. And then what I wanted to show you is I wanted to really explore a little bit in the pixel dashboard, or that's also called the events manager now, and then show you in the Facebook analytics how you can really kind of drill down into the demographics of this particular event. Okay, so to explore this, you can click this link over here that will open up directly in your Facebook Business Manager, and it will open up straight away inside this particular pixel that we have here that we're showing, right? That we're looking at. And here you can see the TrackifyX retarget events are here, and they've collected 2,800. So the whatever shows up here is always in sync with this page right here, with the Events Manager, right? We're in the Events Manager for this particular pixel, and you can see here these counts over here, they line up exactly with what's going on here. Now this here is the 30-day data, and this here is the 1-day data just for today, right? So you can always, you would have to narrow this down here, past 30 days, that's about right. So you get what I'm getting at. So let's dive a little bit deeper. So far, do you guys have any questions at all? Let me just go back for a moment here and look at the questions. There are a couple. So Dean says everything good. Hi, Dean. Trevor says looking great. That's awesome. And Jackie has a question. Let's see here. Sounding good. I have had Trackify for about a year and really I'm not using it much, so I need to watch things like this to better. Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly right. That's the point. That's one of my main points, right? And one of the big points to be putting this on. Okay, so any questions up to this point? So we've gone over enabling the time-on-site events and then going in and actually creating a custom audience or a bunch of custom audiences for specific user segments on your page. And now we're about to go into Facebook Analytics to dive a little bit deeper into it. And I think this can be quite, some learning experience here a little bit, because you can obviously do this for all the other event types as well. So if there aren't any questions, let me just continue on. And we're going to jump into the next tool in Facebook, and that is the View Analytics, Facebook Analytics tool. So I'm going to jump over here. It stays, when you open it from this particular link on the side of the Events Manager, it'll actually come open in the same pixel, and it has everything already selected on last 28 days. And then you have access here to all the different tools that are accessible from within the Facebook Analytics. So what we want to do is we're going to get into activity. And here in activity, we'll go to events, and we'll pick out the events we want to look at. So you can look at all kinds of events here, but here in this particular case, we're after the TrackifyX retarget event. So you're going to dig into that event. And you can see here, so it just started firing this morning because we've started enabling it. But this is actually a couple of events that fired yesterday. Wait until you see me enabling this here, this date range for today. Okay. Okay, so there's a bunch of events, but there isn't a whole lot of users that are on there yet. Okay, I'm going to show you some screenshots of a couple of accounts where the event was available and has actually fired for some live traffic. Okay, so anyway, this is the way to navigate there, right? You go in over here, you go to View Analytics, and it opens up with this menu closed. You open this activity menu, you select events, then you go down the list and you pick out the event you want to kind of drill down into and examine a little bit more. And so here's a screenshot of an account that was just enabled for this event this morning. I hope you can see this. I think you can. Yeah, it looks like you can. Okay, good. And you can see here, so there's about 1,200 events fired. Now, these are actual events that fired in a store that has live traffic. And you can see here, there are 111 users with an average event count per user of 11. So that by in itself is pretty interesting, right? But here you can see, so the event count obviously doesn't translate into users, because the same event fires a whole lot of times for the same user, particularly the ones that you want to retarget and that are more qualified than others. So with that in mind, the next thing you need to do is, or that you can do, is put a filter together up here. And that filter here, you can go to perform the event, pick out the event, TrackifyX retarget, and then select one of the events. So let's go for TimeOnPage. And then you select the same kind of criteria here. So let's say you select is greater than, and then let's say we're going to select 15. And that now calculates and computes it down to the filter. So that's only one user left now. Okay, that's fine. And again, the screenshots here from an actual live account. At this point in time, there were 111 users total that had fired, unique users that had fired the TrackifyX retarget events. And of these, there were 26 users who had spent time on page greater than 60 seconds, right? So there you can kind of slice through your data. Once you have a little bit of real data, I mean, this was like enabled for about 15 minutes in this particular store that I went in here with this particular pixel. But you can see you can get really valuable and good data very, very quickly in Facebook Analytics, and look through and slice through and change the criteria here and try to figure out how many users are left if you tighten this criteria up a little bit more, right? And particularly if you compare it to the total amount of users, I mean, even the user count in this one without a filter restraint represents users that spend at least 5 seconds on your site, right? And that's 5 seconds after the view content event fires. So that's really important to realize that the TrackifyX retarget event does not fire for everybody on your store. So it fires for view content. If it fires however many seconds is in the parameters after the first view content event, right? So that's how we compute it, and that's how we fire it. And so even that, even without narrowing this down, it's already a more valuable audience than just what you get from the view content audiences. So now, of course, you can, let's go back to Trackify and talk a little bit more about what you can do with these. So the primary thing to do with them is, of course, retargeting these audiences directly. And for the purpose of doing that, if you want to combine them with a specific product, you would have to do that in the ad set when you configure the audience, and you would have to combine the audience for a specific product with the general audience that is not product specific, that is based on the TrackifyX retarget event. And that would be a pretty easy thing to do. I'll show you how to do that in just a minute as well. So that would be the most efficient way to set this up. You can theoretically go into your Facebook account and set up a filter similar to this, and actually use different event types and solve the issue that way as well. So if you were to go in here, you could change it. I wouldn't suggest that you actually change it, but you could change it. You could just instead of narrowing down the audience for this, you could just take this out and go to an event here. Let's say a view content event, right? You make that a view content event, and then you refine this by a parameter. And let's say you were to refine this by contains by a tracking tag, right? So maybe you have our track dog in here, right? So that means now this particular filter would overlay these criteria. So you would now retarget, or this audience would filter out people who visited any product page that had this tracking tag on it and stayed on that product page for more than 15 seconds, or at least 15 seconds. And then this down here, you can discard that. It doesn't matter, right? Because this here, view content events, they only fire on product pages. So this criteria would be obsolete in this case, right? And so there you go. So you can build these audiences from the audiences that you've created in Trackify, and that actually may make this process a lot easier than setting them up from scratch. Because I tell you that right now, the way that the audience builder interface dialog works in Facebook is pretty unintuitive. You have to click on many selectors that don't show what you expect, and you have to kind of just click on something and then click over to something else. So it's a bit of a hassle to set it up from scratch. So actually, creating an audience from within Trackify, setting it up with multiple criteria that have an end relationship, just like I showed you in the beginning of the video, and then coming in here into Facebook and actually editing the audience so that it's a combination audience here with a different event type. That might be the easiest way to actually do that. I'm not going to update it right now. I'm just going to leave it as it is so I don't get confused later. Of course, you would change the name and yada, 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 however you want to do that. Okay, but again, it's also very easy to just do this directly from within the ad set setup. When you set up your retargeting manually, you could just include a view content audience and then require that they also, I should say, the thing for dynamic product ads. Oh, and before we do that, I really should show you, of course, the other really powerful thing, and that is that you can build now lookalike audiences based on these. So in order to do that, the easiest way to do it is you go to your audience list, you filter down your audiences so that it's easy to select them, and then you can select one or more of them, and you come over here to hit create lookalike audience from selected. And so what that does is it pulls it up in the next screen in the lookalike audience builder, and it selects the ad account that you were in, And then it will bring all the audiences that you had selected in the previous screen. It'll bring them in here and select them as base audiences. And then you can just simply go in here, define a simply come in here and select a country. You don't have to select the region as well. Then you can select one or more sizes here for the lookalike audiences. And now this will create a separate lookalike audiences based on each one of these base audiences that you've selected, right? And then it'll create one of each of these sizes here for each of these three. So in this particular case, with the selection just as we have here, it'll create 12 audiences. And it'll warn you here just in case you selected 500 lookalike audiences. You might not want to do that, so you can back out of that if you made a mistake. But as it is, you can just simply go ahead and say yes, and it will create them. And then when it's done, it'll come up with a detailed report on each individual lookalike audience, and will show you if it was successfully created or not. All right, quick question over here while we're waiting for this one. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, so everything was successful, and you can now see the audiences here. You could click directly on those, but usually what I like to do is just I come back to the audience list, so this one, and then you can see the audiences pulled up here as well. There you go. So this is now in status of building. It's not showing the audience size yet, but they're going to be here, and then you can actually use them for cold traffic, and they're going to be based on the characteristic and the criteria of the base audiences, which means you're going to have a much more highly targeted lookalike audience in these lookalike audiences. Okay, so before we get into DPAs, and we're just going to spend like a minute on those, I just wanted to show you the trick for how to narrow down the DPAs with those time-on-site audiences. There's one question here from Cody. Will this work with a code generator for ClickFunnels? That's a good question. Right off the bat, I would assume that it does, but honestly, I haven't checked that yet. This feature is so new and I'm so excited about it. I haven't checked on that yet. I don't know what page type it would fire. So we'll see. Well, if it doesn't, then we'll make it work, and we'll select a separate page type for that, so you can actually distinguish the audiences based on where they were fired. So you don't have to use URL criteria in addition to that. That would be also another option. Okay, so that's the answer to that. What else? Any other questions? Any other questions? Let me know. I'm going to just kind of jump into the DPA ads. And let me just see. I think I already prepared that a little bit. No, that's not it. Yeah, this is it. Okay, let me see. Let me see for a second. Yeah, okay. Okay, I just want to go back and back out of this one. And I want to go in again from scratch, from within Trackify, because I just want to show the whole turnaround here. So if I start out by going to the Trackify catalogs, so you go to the catalog manager and you go to the catalog list, and then here it'll also pull up this business manager, and I have a bunch of catalogs in there. You may have to hit load more there because it shows you a bunch of catalogs, but not necessarily all of the ones that you have. If you have too many, then you have to click load more. Then you can filter it down by some sort of criteria that might be in the catalog name. Okay, so here's a catalog. It has 59 products in it. And if you click on the catalog, it'll go into your business manager to the catalog, and it'll let you look at the products here. So you can see this is a hodgepodge of sample products. And we already have set up product sets. So you can go to product sets, and you can see here, these were all automatically generated by Trackify. Just a quick step back here. To generate them or update them, you just simply click on this one after the product feed is updated with the tags that you may have added later, right? So So the tags have to be already in the catalog for this to work properly. But in this case, so it worked properly. And now you can go from here and you can pick any of these subgroups, so here, Christmas, 13 products, you could select them to advertise this product set right here. So why don't we do that? Why don't we just go in here and do that? Select an ad account, and then it goes and opens that inside here. I'm just gonna grab a couple of things here and just name the thing. So this is the quick creation dialog that pops up if you click on the product set to start the process. And here we go. So this is the ad set name, and this is ad name is already done. Here's the product set that is selected. You can see here this is a subset. It's not the entire catalog. It's only the products that have this tag attached to them. And by the way, these products will dynamically update and change in the product catalog and in the feed. Okay, so if you want to, let's say you want to, change your collection, or you want to just move out a product that you don't want to advertise in the DPA anymore, then you simply just remove the tag from the product in your Shopify store. If you want to add another one, you just simply add the tag on the other store. I see this is a little bit small now. Okay, let's take me away again. Let's take that away again. So anyway, this is really cool. So this happens to be 13 products now, but if you add a bunch of products to this tag that also have this tag in your Shopify store, then they will automatically rotate in and update the DPA that we're about to set up. So let's move to the next step. And then here's what I wanted to show you with regards to the step of narrowing down the target audience for this. So you're probably familiar with how this part works. Here we are on the ad set configuration, and let's see, I switched over to the campaign configuration. Okay, here's the ad set configuration. So here's the ad set configuration, and the normal thing here is that you select a dynamic audience for retargeting. So you select it like this. And I'm not going to dive into the intricacies of this, but this here basically means you're going to show this ad to anyone who has viewed a product or added a product to the cart, but not purchased it within the last 14 days. You can change this value here. And this is how you set up your primary target audience. Now, this here only lets you use this whole dynamic audience creation tool. Primarily only lets you use the audiences that are based on the view content, add to cart, and purchase events. So you can move all kinds of events in and out here, but all there is view content, add to cart, and purchase. There are no additional event types available right here to set up your dynamic audience for retargeting. And so then the question is, well, then how do you apply the TrackifyX retarget events to that so that you can narrow these audiences down? Because see what so the way it works is you show advanced options down here. And here is where you can apply additional criteria. So it's like this, it's like filter, right? So this up here filters the people who have visited or added a product but not purchased it within the last 14 days. And then this here narrows it down in addition to the filter up here, okay? And you can do this two different ways. So you could do this. You could simply come in here and say TrackifyX, and we're only looking for custom audiences. So there you are. There's all the criteria here. You can see, so 3 days, 14 days, whatever it is. And you can see the, oh, I see. So what we don't have here is the actual time that they spend. So you would actually have to put that in into the audience name in order to be able to really see this properly here. Otherwise, you'd have to go back. Okay, that's a good point. So you would want to see these all look the same now, except they're for different time frames. But really, what we did here is we defined an audience just like this. We call it time on page, or we have set the filter up for time on page between 15 seconds and 5 minutes, and they're all like that. So we don't remember this because we don't name them like that, but that's what they are. Okay, so you select one of those, and now this is an additional filter that acts as a filter on top of all this. So that means now you have viewed or added to cart but not purchased, and they also have to have spent at least so between 15 seconds and 5 minutes on the product page that they visited, right? So that's the way to narrow this down. Sorry, this was a little bit messy here because I hadn't named the audiences properly, but that's how it goes. So here you always switch this over to impressions, or maybe you put it to link clicks or conversion events. However you're used to setting up your DPAs. The point here of this video or this Facebook Live is that this is the way you can narrow down the audience configuration of the dynamic product ads by picking this this TrackifyX retarget event as an additional criteria for your DPAs. All right, that was a lot of information, people. I hope it didn't overwhelm you too much. Cody says, I've tried with view content and page view and it doesn't seem to be. Okay, I see. Great. So that refers to the question of if it's working with the code generator. Very good. Well, thanks for testing that out for me. We'll get that added in as well. So there's no reason why that shouldn't work for them as well. Cool. So any other questions here? If you think this is an awesome thing, please spread the news, share this video with anyone who you think might be interested. I think it's the most groundbreaking thing we've done in TrackifyX for quite some time. And I mean, we've done some groundbreaking things, but this is really a great innovation that used to require a lot of manual setup to even come close to it. And I think between having the TimeOnPage, which counts the individual pages, and the TimeOnSite, you have some really cool options now to build out the audiences that work best for you. What I would try is, depending on the amount of traffic that you have, if you have a lot of people that end up being in this audience, right? If you like set this filter in Facebook Analytics, if you set this filter exactly the way that you have it configured in your audience, and then you see that how many people are in that audience. So if you have enough people here to be a good base audience for lookalike, then I would always recommend to base that on a shorter time frame, because then they renew these audiences faster and there's more turnover in the lookalike audiences if you're doing it that way. On the other hand, for adding an additional filter to the retargeting ads, you might want to consider building out audiences that have the same or slightly longer time frame settings in the look back period as what you have configured in your DPAs that are working reasonably well. Cool. So there you go. I can't wait to hear results from you guys back as well. So let us know in the chat support, if you have any questions about it, or if anything is not working as expected. It's a little bit of an advanced topic, which is one of the reasons why it's not at this point included in the business plan and reserved for the marketer and enterprise plans. But with that in mind, we'd be happy to let you do a test run. If you are on business, just reach out. We can let you do a test run on the events. If you like them, you can then upgrade to marketer. That's not an issue. If you're completely new to Trackify, you can start the 7-day free trial on any of the plans. The way that the app registration, app installation works from within the Shopify App Store now is you put the app in, and then you'll be asked to choose a payment plan. And no matter which one you choose, you'll have the 7-day free trial starting right then. And then so you can test out any features that you want on the higher plans. And then if you want to downgrade, you can manage it in the menu here. Again, that's when you are installing through the Shopify App Store. Good. Well, good. That was a pretty long Facebook Live, but thanks for sticking with me. And again, spread the news. Let people know that Trackify has these time-on-site events. That'd be very helpful and awesome. And here we go. This is Thomas Bartke signing off. Thanks all for being here. Thanks, Cody. Thanks, Jackie. Thanks, everybody else. All right. Take care. Have a great day.